Alright, so this is my mini Apprentice from Hobby Zone, and I do not have a lot of complaints about this plane. I've had it for 3 years. I guess this is a long-term review. I got this as a ready to fly. I got this with the DXC. Now I have the DX6 there. It's a great transmitter. I have more than one plane, obviously. So I learned off this plane. This is like the plane that started it all for me. I recommend it to any beginner, anyone looking to start in this hobby. It's a good plane to learn off of. It has the AS3X technology for wind stabilization, even though it doesn't seem to help that much. And the safe technology, which is great. I mean, you just press that button on a transmitter, you go from beginner mode, intermediate mode, experience mode, and then you have that safe function to save your landing, or save the plane from going in a attitude that you are not comfortable with. So I'm going to kind of start with the wing and move on to the plane. The wing, there's not a whole lot to complain about. I mean, if you look close, you can see the finish on the wing. Obviously, it's went through a lot in 3 years. I have a lot of hours on this plane. I probably have more hours on this plane than I do all my other ones combined. I mean, this thing has gone through a lot. The edges of the aileron here, they get a little bit worn. They get a little flimsy after a while. I'm not going to worry about that. If we turn it over, you know, I mean, there's no imperfections on the bottom side of the wing. It seems like no matter which way I plug these servo things in, they do not, the ailerons are not reversed. I'm not sure how that works, but no matter which way, whether these are reversed when they're plugged in or not, the aileron servos are not reversed. So I have no idea what causes that. One thing I like to note is I bought different rubber bands. I think Hobbyco makes them, which Hobbyco is a brand from Tower Hobbies, and Horizon Hobby owns Tower Hobbies now. So they're aftermarket rubber bands that I used, and they were kind of tight, tighter than the ones that came with this plane, and they started creasing a little bit in the wing. Not sure how well you guys can see that, but nothing structural, no structural damage, but it looks a little bit on the rough side. I would stick to the rubber bands that came with the plane. That's what I'm saying. So that wing's fine. No problems with the wing at all. Just it'll work forever. I don't see any problems with it in the future. To the plane. So I tried some things with the prop. I've noticed the propeller is a little bit on the brittle side. I mean, it bends. You can see it bends, but it's still a little bit brittle, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it being brittle, because when the propeller breaks, that means there's a higher chance that the motor shaft, the motor, the nose cone, all that stuff will not break. It absorbs the energy. So I'll take that. I would definitely get a few propellers on hand, though. As far as the nose cone, or actually, sorry, cowl is concerned, I've had it break often. As you can see, there's this crack here. I've replaced it twice. I'm not going to replace it a third time. I've paid $20+ in repairs on this stupid cowl. I'm not going to replace it again. I don't know the cause of this, though. This nose wheel is not able to hit the cowl, so I have no idea what causes that. Speaking of the nose wheel, you can see it's loose. There's actually a part in there that keeps breaking, and it doesn't take much of a hard landing to break that piece, and I've replaced it multiple times. I'm not going to replace it again. Even though this is loose, it functions properly, so I'm not going to spend the $15 replacing that as well. As far as this hatch is concerned, everything's fine on the hatch. I mount a GoPro on here. The plane does not like to handle lots and lots of weight. I wouldn't recommend putting a GoPro on this. We open up this hatch, decent amount of room. The speed control that came in this electronic speed control was a 15 or maybe an 18 amp. I don't quite remember. I replaced it with a 40 amp speed control. That's one of those things where I say don't do it, and do as I say, not as I do. I would not recommend putting a 40 amp speed control inside this plane. This whole hatch here came unglued. As you can see from the side, this whole battery hatch unit likes to pop out, and I've had that happen to me twice. I fixed it once with CA. The CA didn't really help, so I epoxied it in, and it's been good ever since. It's a little bit wobbly in some spots. Might have to reinforce it with some more epoxy eventually. But yeah, the battery that comes stock in this plane is a 1300 milliamp 3S from E-Flite. This battery works great. It's a little bit puffy over the years, but when I use more, I have like 3 of these batteries, by the way. But I seem to have recently started using these Gens Ace 2600 milliamp 3S batteries. They do fit inside this compartment. When I have two hands, it will fit in there, I promise you. I have some videos on YouTube, if you go to my channel, flying with this 2600 milliamp battery from Gens Ace and a GoPro mounted on this plane. Do not fly with that configuration. That is just too much for this plane. The plane, it just doesn't like to handle it. I wouldn't recommend doing that. I did it because I can, but it's a little too much for the plane. I haven't had floats on this plane, but it's something that interests me, so maybe in the future I will do that. These are 3 holes for the airflow. Not much to say. This is a little foam insert type deal. This edge just came unglued a few times. I just put some more CA in it. Not a whole lot more to say about the plane, to be honest. These are the 2 servos. It's kind of a stupid design. This is the rudder servo. It controls the nose wheel and the rudder. And it's come unglued in the foam, I think two times. The first time I used CA on it, it didn't hold. The second time I used epoxy and it held quite well. Not sure well you can see the epoxy in there, but it's held ever since. You can see the 40 amp speed control I put in there. And here's the receiver. So the receiver has the Safe and AS3X. You know, they're great systems. Highly recommend it. The last complaint I have about this plane is going to be this rudder. It's a little bit on the flimsy side. I don't think it's going to give you any negative flight characteristics. It's a little bit windy. Hopefully you guys don't hear that. But it's a little bit on the wiggly side. I don't think it'll give you any problems though. So that's pretty much this plane. I fly it with a DX6. It flies great. Talking about the safe technology a little bit more, the AS3X helps, but if you can see the top of the trees move, like I can right now, I'm not sure how obvious that is for you guys, but the whole tree is moving. You can probably hear the wind. It's a little bit too much for this plane. The AS3X doesn't do enough. The plane's so light that the wind will affect the plane. So if you're a beginner pilot, I wouldn't recommend flying this plane in wind when you see the treetops move. So yeah, the safe technology is great though. The beginner mode, like I said, I started flying off of this plane. This is the plane that started everything in the RC hobby for me. The beginner mode was awesome. It helped me learn how to fly. Then I went into intermediate and experienced mode. It's just it's flawless. It's a flawless system, and it taught me how to learn, or taught me how to fly. So yeah, that's pretty much my remark on the Mini Apprentice from Hobby Zone. Overall, I would say I'd give this 8.5 stars out of 10. It's a pretty good plane. I've seen better from Horizon Hobby, but for the price point, I recommend it. If you want to get the ready to fly, the DXC transmitter is great. Yeah, so that's pretty much my take on this thing. It's a great plane for learning how to fly. So check out my other videos. I have videos where I put my GoPro on this thing and I fly it. And yeah, see you guys later.